Hi guys, welcome to Office Blokes Reacts. I am Simple Dave.
I'm Office Bloke Mike.
I am Office Bloke Dance.
Collectively we are the Office Blokes.
Simple Dave.
Simple Dave.
That's what we call you.
It's very true. It is very true. I'm a simple man. I like simple history, apparently. With the Office Blokes, we've got a Patreon page.
We have indeed. Go and have a look at patreon.com and put in Office Blokes React. If you fancy supporting the channel, like a lot of people have done already, which has been absolutely fantastic, go and check it out. Yeah,
and a couple of other channels worth looking at as well, isn't there?
Indeed there is.
Office Blokes Try, where we try stuff, different things, foods from around the world, including surstrumming. Coming soon.
Grim.
And we do Office Blokes Podcast, where we do a podcast every Friday, 6 PM British Standard Time, and also Tuesday, Mike and I talk English Premier League football, if you're into that.
Yeah, good
Join
stuff.
us.
And buy merch, link in the description. Buy merch. Which side? There you go. Look at that. Beautiful logo on a nice hoodie. Anyway, so this is a request. I can't remember if it was a Patreon or if I got an email from someone about it, but it just looked interesting. Like, I'm really behind looking at emails and stuff.
Yeah. Conman.
You might be right.
Where it's from, is it?
Yeah, but I'm really far behind with all messages and stuff and DMs and everything. It got out of hand when I was off sick. Anyway, the Green Beret who went on a one-man rampage to save his comrades. I don't know anything about this. I don't know who he is. I don't know what he did, what war it was in.
So I'm guessing this is like a true story.
Yeah. When I typed this in, there was a video of the real guy beneath, like being interviewed or something. So I guess it's in recent history. But I guess we'll find out. Should we do it?
Yeah. Why not?
The Green Beret who went on a one-man rampage. Roy Benavidez, the Vietnam War. Roy Benavidez's life had been rough as a child. Both his parents had died. He was bullied by his classmates because of his mixed Yaqui Indian and Mexican heritage and had to leave school in 8th grade to help his family. At the age of 19, Benavidez joined the Army, serving in the Korean War in the Texas Army National Guard. He married Hilaria Lala Coy Benavidez in 1959 and completed airborne training, becoming assigned to the 82nd Airborne Division. In 1966, Sergeant Roy Benavidez was in hospital after stepping on a landmine. Doctors said he would never walk again. He had been sent to Vietnam in 1965 as an advisor for the ARVN troops there. Benavidez was carrying out a classified operation alone to gather evidence that the North Vietnamese troops were posing as Viet Cong. While he was on patrol along a narrow trail disguised as a Viet Cong guerrilla, he stepped on a landmine. Sometime later, a squad of Marines came across Benavidez. They initially thought it was a booby trap, but were surprised when they flipped him over and discovered the man in Viet Cong pajamas was Hispanic and wearing U.S. Army dog tags. He was soon evacuated to the hospital. In hospital in the U.S. 2 months later, Benavidez had recovered and awoke. His memories came back to him. The doctor told him he would never walk again. His spine had been damaged and his brain had rattled in his skull. Nevertheless, Benavidez, sitting in his wheelchair, begged the doctors not to discharge him from the Army. The Army was his life. Determined, Benavidez got up from his bed night after night, dragging himself to the wall and putting weight on his legs. For weeks, he pushed through the pain, going further in distance than before, which surprised the doctors. 6 months later, with his wife Lala's support, Roy Benavidez walked out of the hospital.
Nice.
He was promised only a desk job at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, but determined and exercising every day, he trained vigorously and qualified for the Special Forces, also known as the Green Berets. He would be assigned to Detachment B-56.
Before we even know what he's done, what a tough bastard.
Hey,
what a tough
that's cool. That is determination, that, isn't it?
I think, like, not that I, can empathise with the situation, but when people are told they're not going to be able to walk again, if you're going to be sat down all day, there's going to be a level of sort of atrophy where your muscles are just going to waste away anyway.
Course, yeah.
And he's obviously gone, nah, and whatever he can do to just keep him going.
It'd be easy to just sit back, wouldn't it? Feel sorry for yourself, watch the world go by and just give up, wouldn't it? But yeah, determination, this guy. Wow.
This is going to go off, though. It just feels like it's going to go mad, isn't it?
Special Forces Group Airborne, 1st Special Forces. 6 hours in hell. Now it was 1968. Staff Sergeant Roy Benavidez, now with the code name Tango Mike Mike, was back in Vietnam and was off duty attending church, but his mind was fixed on the panicking radio chatter from the front lines. In Loc Ninh, Vietnam, near the Cambodian border, a 12-man Special Forces reconnaissance team, which included his close friends, Sergeant First Class Leroy Wright, Staff Sergeant Lloyd Frenchie Mousseau, Specialist 4 Brian O'Connor, and 9 Montagnard tribesmen who were part of the Civilian Irregular Defense Group Program, or CIDG, were surrounded by a battalion numbering 1,000 battle-hardened North Vietnamese soldiers. Everyone in the unit had been wounded or killed in earlier fighting, and 3 of the helicopters sent to rescue them had been unable to extract them due to heavy enemy fire. When the helicopters returned, they were riddled with bullets. One of them, the door gunner, Michael Craig, age 19, had been hit several times and died in Benavidez's arms. There was no way Benavidez was going to leave his friends out in the jungle. Benavidez jumped onto a returning helicopter that was going back in, volunteering so quickly that he didn't have time to get his M16, so was only armed with a Bowie knife and medical supplies. Benavidez described it as going into autopilot. As he was approaching the extraction zone,
it's going to go on
Johnny Rambo, innit?
Yeah, just a bit. Wow.
Take on 1,000 guys with a knife.
And first aid back.
Jesus Christ. It's unbelievable. It's almost incomprehensible, isn't it, so far? Oh, God.
Benavidez realized his fellow team members were too severely wounded to run the distance to the helicopter. There was so much enemy gunfire that the pilot, Larry McKibben, had to zigzag in an attempt to dodge it, but was nevertheless able to provide covering fire. Benavidez jumped out with a medical bag, ran through the jungle to the wounded men under heavy enemy fire, taking a shot to the leg, which he initially thought was a thorn bush. He found Mousseau first, against a tree whose eyeball had been shot out and was hanging down his cheek, but was determined to keep shooting back. The CIDG were in a pool of blood and patched up as best they could. Benavidez dragged everyone into a defensible position to direct their fire at the enemy and provided morphine to the wounded. He then saw O'Connor and an interpreter CIDG who he motioned to move over to him, but the gunfire started again and they took cover. Another round then hit Benavidez in his thigh. On adrenaline, he popped the green smoke for McKibben in the rescue helicopter to pick them up. While everyone who could move got into the chopper, he suppressed the tree line with an AK-47 he had picked up to cover O'Connor and the interpreter who crawled towards the helicopter. Now Benavidez was looking for the team leader, Sergeant First Class Leroy Wright, who had been killed and who also had intel on him that could not get into enemy hands. Benavidez found his body and proceeded to drag him to the chopper when he was shot again, this time in the stomach, and hit in the back by shrapnel from a nearby grenade, knocking him out. When he awoke, Benavidez was forced to leave his dead friend's body. Disaster had also struck. The chopper had crashed to the ground from enemy fire. The pilot, McKibben, was dead. 5 of the men on board, including Mousseau, survived the crash, as did O'Connor and the interpreter who didn't get into the helicopter. Benavidez pulled them out of the wreckage, dispensed morphine, set up a perimeter around the crash site, and called in heavy air support from the F-100s above, which dropped napalm on the enemy position. When the jets ran out of fuel and had to leave, the enemy machine gun fire started again. Benavidez gave O'Connor a 3rd shot of morphine and took another bullet to the leg. Their position was surrounded by North Vietnamese soldiers. It looked hopeless. But a helicopter finally came to their rescue. Benavidez and the rescue team carried and dragged the wounded men onto the chopper, but the landing zone was still being fired upon by NVA troops, to the extent that 2 men were shot in the back as they crawled to it. Shrapnel wounds to his face from earlier caused Benavidez's vision to be blurred from the blood in his eyes. When he went to get Mousseau, an NVA soldier butted his rifle into Benavidez's head and jaw and slashed his arm with his bayonet. He shouted to O'Connor to shoot, but he was too drugged from morphine to react. Benavidez pulled out his Bowie knife and stabbed the NVA soldier till he was dead.
Fucking hand-to-hand combat as well. It's just
That's all you need.
Unbelievable. I wonder if, like, the idea behind Forrest Gump, you know, where he's just dragging everyone out the battlefield and then calling in an napalm and then he gets bit by something on his ass. You know, and he said he thought it was a thorn in his leg when he first got shot. I wonder if that's the inspiration.
Maybe it is.
This is just unbelievable, isn't it?
He then dragged Mousseau to the helicopter and killed 2 more NVA with an AK-47 who were out of the helicopter's side gunner's arc of fire And then he made one more trip to get the interpreter and destroy any classified material, with blood still obscuring his vision. Only then did he allow the others to pull him onto the helicopter, the last man to leave the battlefield.
Wow.
At this point, the round that had hit his stomach had exposed his intestines, which he was trying to hold in with his hands. The helicopter, badly shot up and with no instruments left, managed to take off.
Savage.
Yeah.
Absolute savage.
When they landed, the wounded were unloaded and examined one by one. It had turned out that Benavidez had even loaded 3 dead enemy soldiers into the helicopter in case they had classified materials. They were left to the side, as was Benavidez. He couldn't move or speak because of the broken jaw from the rifle butt. The blood over his eyes had glued them shut, and with 37 bayonet, bullet, and shrapnel wounds all over his body, he looked dead. Medics started placing him in a body bag and started zipping him up when a friend noticed him and said, "That's Roy! That's Roy Benavidez!" The doctor said there was nothing that could be done, but Benavidez mustered his last bit of energy and spat in the doctor's face, causing the doctor to say, "I think he'll make it." He was flown to Japan for intensive surgery, then Brooke Army Medical Center, Fort Sam Houston, where he stayed for almost a year. Roy Benavidez had survived 6 hours in hell and saved 8 lives. Benavidez's commander had put him in for the Distinguished Service Cross because the process for awarding a Medal of Honor would take much longer, and he was unsure if Benavidez would live or die before he could have received it. Finally, on February 24, 1981, President Ronald Reagan would present Roy Benavidez the Medal of Honor. Reagan said if the story of his heroism were a movie script, you would not believe it. Benavidez said of his actions, "The real heroes are the ones who gave their lives for their country. I don't like to be called a hero. I just did what I was trained to do." Master Sergeant Roy Benavidez died on November 29, 1998, at the age of 63.
That's so crazy. Isn't
Subscribe for more Vietnam War history videos.
Absolutely.
What a guy, eh?
Unbelievable.
Died young as well, 63.
Yeah.
I mean, he's had complications in his life. But,
you think with the amount of injuries, maybe that's the case.
Guy.
But 37 complications there.
Just a bit,
What a guy though, right?
Having been told you're never going to walk again, and that's what you go and do.
What if actually made a film of... I know there's been loads of war films, but what if they've made one of actually him? You'd think it'd be that type of thing that's be sort of chronicled, wouldn't you, in a film?
It's like they said there.
Someone with heroism
was
like
Ronald
that.
Reagan that said if this was a movie script, you wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Well, you wouldn't.
No, you wouldn't. You think it's just not possible.
That bit of just grabbing your knife and not even grabbing a rifle and just going is just... Who does that?
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
What a story that is.
Yeah, I'm glad that got requested, because people like that are just... I feel like they're on a different planet. I feel like there's that level of savagery, and they're just going and just get the job done, no regard for themselves whatsoever. It's just
real life heroes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, what else can you say about someone like that? The attitude and everything. It's absolutely amazing.
I'm glad he got the Medal of Honor. When they said
deserved it, yeah.
When they said it was the Distinguished Cross. I was like, oh, he should get the Medal of Honor for that.
One,
but then I'm glad, even if it was 20 years later or whatever.
The time frame it has to be issued, and something like, what? Let's track it.
Yeah, you'd think so, wouldn't you? Really? Yeah, of course. But anyway, I suppose at least, he got one in the end, and obviously richly deserved as well, wasn't it? So
proper hero.
Big time.
Yeah, what a guy! What a
real
guy.
hero.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I bet he could throw a punch. I bet if you upset him in a bar, I bet you can knock
I can imagine. Yeah,
savage.
You don't want to mess with people like that.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that too. Don't forget, like and subscribe, hit the bell, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.